If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
All right, I think this conversation is going to shed a lot of light on the NBA Defensive Player of the Year in previous years and what numbers have mattered most to voters at the end of the season. And maybe that will mean something again this year as sports better. And he's been doing this for a long, long time. He's been tracking and researching this award, the NBA Defensive Player of the Year. He has a model. It goes back a good 15 years. Mike Montesano joins the program now. He just started his Twitter account 35 minutes ago. He's at Bets and Reps. Mike, good afternoon. What are you benching nowadays?
I actually, believe it or not, I'm not really a one rep max guy, but it was my birthday last Friday and I was feeling kind of saucy a little bit. And I did throw up 300 pounds, so I'm proud of myself.
Damn, it's impressive. That's really...
I got it on video too. Good. I'll post that if anyone wants to see that.
There you go. Outstanding. I love it. So let's start here. Zero opinion-based rants to begin, right? With your model here and going back a good 15 years, which numbers have mattered the most at the end of the year for voters?
Well, I think when you're looking at the last 15 years and who's won, a majority of the players have won have been bigs, right? They've been centers, power forwards. And we've had Marcus Smart. We had a couple small forwards, Kawhi Leonard. If you want to throw Draymond Green as more of a small forward, power forward. But there's 4 rankings that I use. It's team defensive efficiency, individual defensive rating, player DWS, which is defensive win shares, and DBPM, defensive box plus minus. All those three of those can be seen at Basketball Reference. I use the team defensive rating statistics at teamrankings.com. Mm-hmm. And I think from everything that I've looked at, the top 2 are your team rankings. Is your team good on defense? We just saw it in the NFL as Denver with the number 1 EPA defensive team in the NFL, and who won that award. And 2 years ago, the same thing with the Cleveland Browns. And if you go through the model on team defensive efficiency, the median average is your team finishes number 1. The 15-year average is 1.7. So you have to have a pretty good team defense in order to really be considered for this ranking.
Fantastic breakdown. And last year it was Gobert, heavily criticized, number 1 defense. I thought it was Wemby. Spurs were 21. How about a couple of voters on a podcast said a big guy has to win the award?
I mean, I would differ because the game has changed so much over the last 5 to 6 years. With so much emphasis put on the three-point shot, you need to have perimeter guys that can defend a 3. It's not just steals. Okay, you have to defend the three-point line. And there's one team that does an exceptional job at that, and that's Oklahoma City. And if you look at the awards market, they have 3 players in the top 6 in the odds. And all three of those guys are tremendous defensive players on the perimeter.
Okay, so let's start there then. Overall, where do the 3 players that you just talked about, where do they rank overall? Dort, SGA, and Jalen Williams. Because we know that OKC has the best defense. Where are they at with defensive win shares? Where are they at with individual defensive rating?
Okay, SGA is number 3 in individual defensive rating. Jalen Williams is number 4. And Lou Dort is number 14. I'll get to a minute how I do the rankings in a second. Player defensive win shares is Shea is 1, Jalen Williams is 2, and Dort is 10. Now, defensive box plus minus, another important stat, and go right on Basketball Reference. Shea is 3, Jalen Williams is 10, and Lou Dort is 18. So I take a weighted average of all 4 categories, and if you look at the past 15 years, and you look at the winner and the runner-up, we can make, like last year, we were all upset about Wemby, but my model then is kind of shifted, and we could say, okay, I can see why Gobert won. And this year, right now, the top 2 defensive players, according to my model, are Shai Gilgeous-Alexander 1, and maybe 1A Jalen Williams.
And then where would Dort rank?
Dort would rank. He has a weighted average score rank of 10.3 on all 4 of those categories, and he would rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He would rank 7th right now in my model because I sent you the model last night, Mitch, and I had Wemby's numbers on there, but we'll eliminate Wemby obviously because he's injured.
Yeah. Well, in terms of intimidation factor, changing a game, guys having a 2-on-1 break and backing it out because they were afraid of him. You can be the best defensive player in the league even though your team isn't good defensively or so. Right. So what do you think of Daniels? I think that Atlanta's like in the middle of defense, but what do you think of Daniels, who's been gaining some steam and now 7-8-1?
Right. Because Daniels is a steal machine, right? So that's one category. Where was Daniels when Wemby was still playing? He was nowhere to be found. I think he was like 100-1.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, Wemby goes out, and the market starts shifting, and everyone's now looking at, well, who's leading in steals? Dyson Daniels. But there's more to the game of basketball than steals. Obviously your team has to do well defensively, but let's take it at an individual player rating. He's ranked 17th. Let's look at a player defensive win shares. He's ranked 9th. Now he does rank 4th in defensive box plus minus, so that is an important category. But out of all 4 categories, when I look at the median and the average over the last 15 years, defensive box plus minus probably is not as important as the other 3.
Okay, so then based on his weighted average overall, has there been a player in the last 15 years to win it where Dyson Daniels is like where his numbers show right now?
Yeah, absolutely not. The lowest score per my numbers right now, we can go back to Tyson Chandler, 2011, 2012. He had a weighted average of 8.9. But what was the one thing that he had going for him? He was on the number 1 defense in the league. And if you even look at his counting stats, because I put counting stats on there as well, he didn't have great counting stats. He didn't have Wemby counting stats. He didn't have, Rudy Gobert counting stats. He didn't have Joakim Noah's counting stats. But he was on the number 1 defense, and I think that's why voters, that was a very close race that year between him and Ibaka. Ibaka finished at 9.2 in my rated score. If you go look at all the votes, including the first place votes, that was extremely close. So my model has shown and proven that in the past it has worked. Will it predict the future? Well, we're dealing with voters, and we know how that goes.
Well, that's what I was going to say next, right? And it's Follow the Money here on VSiN, the sports betting network. Sports better Mike Montesano is our guest. He's been, researching and tracking this Defensive Player of the Year. Has a model for it going back the last 15 years. Can we trust voters overall?
No, we can't, because most of them are group thinkers, and they're going to sit in a room and they're going to see one player. Jaren Jackson has already won the award, and they're going to say, well, he's got to be, we might just give it to him because of his name. Mobley, which to this day, right now, I do not understand why he's ranked 2nd. Right now, if you look at Mobley's defensive statistics last year, where he got 0 votes, to this year with weighted average score and his counting stats, they're practically the same. So why is he 2nd? Is there an on-off number that made all the voters? I don't think voters look at on-off numbers, because we had an historical last year. Wemby was historic with his on-off numbers. When he was off the court, they were the worst defense in the league. When he was on the court, they were top 10. So now all of a sudden, are we looking at on-off numbers? I'm more concerned about what they're doing on the court and what their team is doing on the court. And there's no way Mobley and Jackson, according to my model, based on the last 15 years of data, should be ranked 1 and 2.
No way, no how, top of the odds board. Where do you think right now, based on, again, your research going back the last 15 years and where they're at with their numbers this year, where do you think they should be? How do you think it should be at the top of the odds board, top 5 or top 6 players?
Well, I'm just going to go based on my model.
Yeah,
SGA
right.
should be ranked number 1. Jalen Williams should be 2. Amen Thompson should be 3. Zubac should be 4, and I would go Mobley 5. And there is a guy that got 1 Defensive Player of the Year vote last year, and no one's even talking about him. And if you look at his counting stats and his weighted average score rank, his name's Jared Allen. He might be better than Mobley if you look at everything. Go look at all his numbers last year and this year. They're basically the same, but he's not even on the odds board. And then I would go Lou Dort, Rudy Gobert, and then I would go Jaren Jackson Jr., Draymond Green, and Dyson Daniels. This is all according to the numbers. These are to my model.
Again, yeah, like no real like opinion-based rants in there, right? As we said to begin this, based on the last 15 years.
There's no opinion. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. There's no opinion. This is just all based on numbers. If you were to look at my model, look at the last 15 years of data, look who won and look who was the runner-up. You could see where there were blowouts, like Dwight Howard one year. He won it a couple times. He got several votes. Go look at the score. Look at the runner-up score. And again, this is all based on pure numbers. Now, what the voters do from here on in, obviously, we still have a month and a half to play, and numbers can change. But as of right now, the top two defensive players are SGA and Jalen Williams.
Oh, man, that was awesome stuff. Mike Montesano, longtime sports bettor, obviously has great numbers here going back good 15 years. An NBA Defensive Player of the Year. By the way, do us a favor here and him. Just had his birthday last week, put up 300 pounds on the bench press, and literally started a Twitter account or an X account 45 minutes ago before the show started. He's at Bets and Reps. Thanks, Mike. We appreciate that.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you having me on.
Be good.
Thank
Win,
you.
lose coming up next.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah. This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. We are live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Busy hour coming up. We'll get into a heavy NBA card tonight coming up in about 15 minutes. Mike Palm in studio. Bottom of the hour. He's strong on a college basketball game tonight, and also You Cannot Be Serious. Here we'll begin college hoops as Dallin Cuff joins the program now, does a great job on the coverage for ESPN, and he is on the Progressive guest line. Dallin, good afternoon. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm very well, fellas. Good to be with you.
I heard this on the show following us last night, VSiN Primetime. One of the leading traders at DraftKings, Matt Grill, came on and said they just posted a futures prop on the board, and it was the SEC versus the field. And they opened it up, the SEC to win the whole thing, plus 120. The field favorite, it was about minus 140. Would you have an opinion on that?
I do, and I'll take the plus 120 because I think my favorite three teams to win it are Auburn, Alabama, and Florida. Obviously, they're all in the SEC. I think when you look around the other leagues too, to have somebody outside the Power Five, you include the Big East in this mix, doesn't seem incredibly likely. Obviously, the ACC really is representing one with Duke. The Big 12, I think Houston is really your contender. Iowa State, if fully healthy, maybe. Gonzaga, I don't think is not going to be in the mix here. The WCC school. In the Big 10, as much as I like some of the teams, I don't think really they have somebody that's going to win 6 in 6 games to cut down the net. So I really do look at the SEC as the most likely team if you're going to give me a little bit of value there. And I do believe 12 teams are getting in. So it's just my math ain't great, guys. But that's about what 1/5 to 1/6 of the field. Like that's a pretty big number.
With a lot of 1 and 2 seeds too.
Absolutely, yeah. Which matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised when he said they made them plus 120, to be honest.
Yeah.
I thought it might be a small favorite. Also, at FanDuel, they posted, I think earlier today, odds to be a 1 seed. And after what happened last night to Florida, Houston moved up to minus 550 to be a 1 seed.
Oh, that I don't like that at all. I think Houston's great, and I think Houston's worthy of being a 1 seed. But I think there's going to be value on Florida now. If you're telling me went the other way, Florida's the team that takes that loss at Georgia, and this is a bit weird thing. We'll get into some of the games too. The SEC, you're getting to that point of the year where there's a matter of motivation here. Who needs what to win this game? That's why last night I was on with the guys in the morning on VSiN, and Georgia was one of my favorite plays because now with the number I didn't take them straight up, but I'd contemplated it because this is a team that had to have the win. It's like there's desperation plays into it. And we've seen a Florida team when they're not fully locked in. First half against Missouri, they get buried. They come back and make it tight. They get blown out by Tennessee when they're missing 2 starters. They've been up and down when they're not locked in. That seemed like a game to not be locked in on. The look-ahead spot. Game day is going to be in Gainesville this weekend. That's a huge deal. And then you go on the road to Georgia and lay an egg. Mm-hmm. So when you look at these type of motivations and what teams are playing for, I can see them slipping up but not overall hurting their resume when you get with the next couple games and in the SEC tournament. Whoever gets in the final of that game likely is going to, if it's Alabama, Auburn, or Florida, or Tennessee, whoever gets the two of those four get in the final, they're going to be one seeds.
Yeah.
I don't care what happened to Florida this week. So
Right.
if there's value on them now, whereas Houston's the kind of the exact opposite, the Big 12 isn't what it was in past years. They have a really good resume, but bear in mind, they did lose to a number of teams when they look at the full body of work in the non-conference and quality teams, and one of them being Alabama. So they have some losses against teams that will be compared to. So that's a massive favorite that I'm not sure they should garner that relative to the field.
And I also think, this is a little bit of opinion, but I think the numbers bear this out as well. In like any North American sport, the beauty of this thing when it comes to betting it, college basketball has like a true home court advantage in a ton of different spots across the country. Georgia's the perfect example. They have been awesome for the most part all year long at home. They're a completely different team when they're on the road.
Exactly. They cannot score on the road. They can't score. They can't make shots. They make shots last night. They almost capitulated at the end. But yes, they are a Jekyll and Hyde home and away team. We'll talk about Vanderbilt is also the same way. Now, granted, when you're going on the road in some of these SEC environments, it's really hard and you're playing high-level teams. It's not just you lose the games. It's how you play on the road. And that, to your point, the Bulldogs did not play well on the road, neither has Vandy.
Should these teams get in? Like North Carolina's 1-10 against Quad 1 teams. Oklahoma's 4-10 in league. You mentioned how bad Georgia is on the road. Can I get a Drake at an at-large? Can I get a UC San Diego? I mean, I just think if you get this many opportunities and you can't get it done, I have to pass and get the little guy a shot.
I think there's a middle ground here, though. Here's the difference with North Carolina with their 1-10. They had a lot of situations on neutral courts in the non-league where it helps take away that home court advantage you're talking about. And then they did not perform in those. And they have a couple, obviously, in ACC play. You go on the road to Clemson, you play on the road, or home to Duke is going to be one. So they have one more coming up against Duke here in a couple of weeks. But when you watch the team, that's where the eye test. The committee is not tasked with the eye test, but Carolina is not a tournament team. You can make the argument for Vanderbilt with the home wins Vanderbilt has. You can't take them off their resume. I mean, they beat Tennessee. They beat Kentucky. Like, those are games that if you put those same games in front of Carolina, they did not win. So it's hard for me to make that argument for a team like Carolina. Whereas I always like to battle for the little guy, and you like to look at Drake, and you like to look at UCSD and other teams of that ilk. The SEC this year is a hard argument because the wins they have, they are some of the highest level wins you're going to get. So that's hard to argue. When you beat a 1 seed, it's not comparable to if Drake is 1-1 in Quad 1 games, and what those Quad 1 games were. It's not beating Tennessee, who's a 1 seed. So I think that's tough. Now, if you compare them to a resume like Wake Forest or SMU's, sure, I'll take that all day. You can make that discussion, have that discussion with me through and through. Some of these ACC teams in the bubble, and SMU has not won a Quad 1 game. Wake Forest, I think, is 2-7. So like you can, their two are not great too either. So I think those discussions are different than some of these SEC teams and who they've beaten. Yes, they had the opportunity, but they did beat the elite of the sport. So to leave them out is tough.
Okay, so Paulie brought up another team there, and it's Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Dalen Cuff, ESPN college basketball coverage. He's on the Progressive Guest line. He brought up Oklahoma, 4-10 in the SEC. Couple things here. Would you have them in as of right now? And then you talked about desperation spots. Like they I think with a win tonight, certainly it's going to make a much better argument, right? Because they have Kentucky and they're a 3-point dog at home. Would you think about betting Oklahoma in this spot tonight?
I am. I'm not going to. If they're in right now, by my opinion, doesn't really matter. But that's part of what's factoring in tonight. If they win tonight, I think it's really hard to take them out of this mix. Given the Missouri win, which is the Mississippi State win they just had, and then this win right now, that's a tough thing to say that they're not going to be in this thing. Especially when you look at their non-league wins, what they did outside of league, and they won the battle for Atlantis. Like, I mean, this is it's hard to just overlook that. So this is the thing with tonight, though, is the season's kind of on the line. And you got a Kentucky team that's still banged up and trying to get healthy, does not defend very well. Oklahoma usually is reliant on the 3-point shot. At home, they've been better, but on top of that, I do think you can drive the ball in Kentucky. Especially when Butler's not in there, you can get into the paint, you can finish in the paint, and on top of that, when you get in the paint, you are kicking out for now better step-in threes, which the Sooners shoot better at home. So yes, I like them taking with their 3 points. I may flirt with the money line here too, but the points I really like with the Sooners here. The Kentucky team that is hard to trust away from home, and in their currently constituted injury situations, I don't think they can guard them enough.
Very good. Let's get nuts. How about a team total here? What do you want to do with Fordham?
Let's get nuts. I love it. Well, George Mason, guys, is one of the top 15 teams in defensive efficiency in the country. They are coming off their first loss, and they won 11 straight. They lost to VCU at the weekend in a game that was a grinder. But VCU's a tournament team. Like, let's just say they better get in at the A-10, whether they win the A-10 tournament or not. They have all the pieces to them. But George Mason is really well coached by Tony Skinn. They are physical. They're strong defensively. They'll mix up some different looks defensively. And the challenge to beat them is you have to get to a second and third side. You got to be patient offensively. You have to be play off 2 feet. none of these things Fordham tends to do. Like they will take the first and quickest available shot possible. They will not make the defense work most times, and they're not a very good shooting team. I think George Mason will be able to handle them on the offensive side of the ball, but more importantly, I'm isolating their defense. I think the team total under for Fordham, 62.5. Mason plays one of the bottom 30 tempos in the country. This is coming off that loss. I think they control the tempo of this game. They control the game on the defensive end. And I can see the Rams really struggling to score in a game that George Mason win.
Good. Hardcore. I love it. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Dalen Cuff, our guest. You're also a Wooden Award voter. There was at least one national sports book today that flipped the favorite here, and they made Broome minus 125 to win the award. Do you agree? There's some basketball left here, obviously. Do you agree with that move as of today?
This is I said this a couple days ago. I can't remember what show because he was still a favorite, and it may now obviously as an ESPN employee we have to reference that sports book, and we do shows on the network. We have to reference that. I'll go back real quick to when it actually flipped the first time. Was it 6 Saturdays ago? It's in studio when Broome got his ankle injury, and he at the time of that book was minus 285, and Cooper Flagg was plus 285. Well, if Cooper went for 42 in that game, and they flipped, and basically at the same odds almost coming out. And 4 hours later, it wasn't even later wasn't the next day. It was later Saturday night. We were in studio saying, I was like, I don't remember seeing this drastic of a flip. That I understand because he's hurt then, but it wasn't warranted once he got healthy. And the way he's performed on these huge national stages with, I think, the best team in the country, when he was still plus money, as I said the other day, I think he was like 2-1 still at ESPN Bet. That was the value. That was the play. And I'm not saying this purely as just my voter or that's not necessarily my bias, but with more games to play, and when Duke doesn't play in any competitive games, and people switch them off versus Auburn taking people's best shot night in and night out, and him performing and stuffing the stat sheet, it's not who's going to be the better NBA player. It's who's the best player in college basketball this year. And it's not that Cooper's not. He just has less of a chance to prove it. Like, I think you're going on name, you're going on reputation, we're going on some of his performances for sure, but not at the same level of competition for the same level of consistency. So I do wonder what other voters will look at and think about as we come to the final end of the Wooden Award here. And thanks for sending me that. Luke DeVos, your great producer, told me you guys were going to ask me that. I have to send in my picks for that tomorrow, my top 15. I forgot until you told me that. So it's good to know. And I will get to work here tonight in the studio and make sure to get my top 15 in there. But those two dudes will definitely be in there. The question is who's going to win it. And I think 100% the value is on Broome here. And I'm not surprised one book flipped. And as we get closer to the SEC tournament, because I believe this goes through the Elite Eight weekend, essentially. It's that weekend is the end of the actual voting for the awards. So all this stuff factors. And I really do think that at the end of the day, if you're betting the flag, if you have a take of a flag as a huge favorite, you're kind of losing out here because these two are very close. Okay,
I'm glad you said all that. And by the way, for the record, I'm looking right now at ESPN Bet. Flag is still minus 135. Broome is even money.
Well, there you go. Well, still moving. Okay, interesting.
Okay. Dalen, that was awesome. Thanks so much for the time today. Good luck tonight, okay?
Anytime, boys. Have a good one.
There you go. Dalen Cuff from ESPN, their college basketball coverage here on the Progressive Guest Line. So, I think I know which way he's going as of right now.
Good points. Very good points.
Tonight's NBA card up next. A lot of player props have risen due to recent performances. Could it mean it's time to go the other way? A discussion on that next here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome back. It is Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Wednesdays with the Maestro as Mike Palm joins the program here on the desk. VP of this great property, the Golden Gate here all in downtown. Good afternoon, Mike. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mitch. Good afternoon, Paul. Nice to see the band is back together again.
You got it.
I really wish Paulie would have showed up to Bar Canada for the Four Nations.
He's on vacation.
I know. He gets a pass.
Why? If things were different, things might not. Your whole run, your whole revenge tour might not have been the same if Paul was there.
Could have been distracted.
Right?
Yep.
Maybe you stay there. Maybe during the first period you don't go and start playing in high limit.
You know what?
We thought he left, Paul. He was there an hour. It's 8 minutes left in the second. I said, Irish goodbye from Mitch, huh?
then I'm really pulling a Paulie Howard.
Yeah, it's a good move.
See, here's why it would not have happened. Paulie would have been on my machine.
Yeah, that's possible.
That's likely.
Or he'd have got to it first.
Second from the left when you walk in. Very good. Good call. Good scouting, Mitch.
Let's pay off the tees right away. You were red hot last Friday filling in for Paulie College basketball. I asked you if you're hot and heavy on a game tonight. You responded. Who do you like?
I like Maryland a lot tonight.
Ooh.
I think this is a good spot for them. Michigan State's on a high. Now they got to go on the road here. I think Maryland's, Mitch, I want to give you the ticket, Maryland, to win the Big Ten. I think they're a sleeping giant here. I think they create a lot of matchup problems for teams. I like 3.5 in this spot. I know it was high as 4.5 and some others, but I like Maryland here to roll tonight.
Sleeping giant, meaning Final Four team?
I think that Maryland and Clemson will cause the 1 and 2 seeds problems in the tournament. I think those two teams have some potential to be Elite Eight, possibly Final Four teams.
You had a huge number on Clemson last year.
85-1, yeah, and they got to the Elite Eight.
Okay, do you have anything on them this year?
I do.
You do?
I have 55-1.
To win the whole thing?
Yeah.
They're good.
5 seed, do you think? Maybe something like that?
Yeah.
You get the big win against Duke, but the
but it's hard. The league is so bad,
I know,
Paul.
it's hard to power rate that.
It's
You're
so
right.
bad.
I know. I'm with you.
You agree? I mean, you've been watching this stuff going back to the early 80s.
But I keep saying every year it's the worst ACC I've ever seen. This year it
true.
really is.
It really is.
Finally really is.
I like your A&M ticket more, though.
I don't know. They
You don't know. I mean, you're all over the place. You're not buying Houston. Now you're down on A&M.
I mean, ask Mitch about how good A&M is. I mean, he keeps going back to the well with the team.
I think I'm not tonight.
Are you done with it?
Not tonight.
Not tonight.
No more. All right.
I know.
Got a good ticket on him.
Well, you got a good number.
It's
so
a
you
good
got
number.
like that.
Yeah. I'm not
Be a
complaining
3
about
seed?
the number,
All right.
but they haven't helped their seeding the last week.
They were also recently projected as still a 2 seed. I don't think they're
That's
going to
hard
get
to
that
believe.
high.
No.
What do you think about this, by the way? A national book put up 1 seed odds today. After Florida got beat last night, Houston's now minus 550. Jerry Palm came on CBS on this show on Monday. He said 3 SEC teams will get it.
No, Duke will get one.
Well, that's the other one.
Well, then how could Duke and Houston both get it?
He said
he's
Houston,
wrong then.
Yeah, Houston. He said Houston could win out, and it might not.
Well, they
be
are
That's
gonna-
what he said. Yes,
that's
yes.
crazy.
No, how could it not? So you're
19
saying the
and 1
Big
and-
12's so weak that you run through the Big 12?
I'm with Mitch.
Houston will win out, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. They'd
I
be
believe.
19 and 1 in the league then.
How
And
could
then
they
if
not
you
get
win-
a 1 seed?
They would have to.
Yeah.
If Duke gets one, they have to get one.
Yeah. And Auburn,
Oh, they're in. They're not even on the board. You can't even bet them to get a 1 seed.
and then who gets the other one? Alabama or Florida?
I probably. Well,
Where would you put Missouri? Interesting team peaking right now.
I have a ticket on them. You know, there's 13 and 1 to make the Final Four. They're good. They're dangerous. Their wins that they have.
They won at Florida.
Oh my God! They and the neutral court will not affect that team at all.
Can we talk about the elephant in the room here?
Fresno?
No, the reaction to this. The what is it? Beyond the Glass? Beyond the Glass yesterday? It was overwhelming, the number of email responses.
You're a genius.
Well, I said this 5 years ago. What were we waiting for?
Yeah.
When we opened the... Was it? We had breakfast with somebody here at Saginaw's. I said, people would pay for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
You called the
I
whole
did.
thing.
I
you
said
did.
You
people
called the
would
whole
pay.
thing, and
We
you
had-
threw out a crazy number for the bid in terms of what it was, and I'm like, oh my God, we'll get it, no problem. You said you're a genius.
34 people in the first 12 hours emailed. Went on the website and sent the email, so now it's our team. We got to contact them back, confirm. Obviously, we want the tech to where they can just, it's available, they check it. Do you want Mitch? Do you want Paul? Do you want both? Put your 20% deposit and it's locked in. We got to get to that point soon.
Yeah.
But the response has been overwhelming, which has caused our team here at Circa to really think, well, what's the next layer of this? Obviously, it's not just going to be Mitch and Paul.
Of
Let's
course, it
be
can't
honest.
be. It
I don't
can't
want to
be.
hurt your feelings. But it's not going to just be Mitch and Paul.
It would hurt my feelings if it was that way.
Dinner with Gil at Carbone.
Okay.
Is that the next rollout?
Mm-hmm.
A round of golf with Matt Humans in July?
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be very hot.
It
That's
has
how
to-
he likes to
Yeah,
play,
it has
right?
to be in Death
Could
Valley.
it be that?
Yeah.
Could it be watching a Notre Dame game with Tim Murray? Could it be dinner with Greg Peterson at the Texas Roadhouse? All
Yes.
great ideas.
Yes.
All great ideas.
Amen. Amen. Do you have the video too? I mean, the other thing too about this has become an advantage play if you want to run it, Luke. This is the suite it's the owner's box. It because I'm reading. I go because Nish gets royalties.
right.
Nish and Schwartzy did this every year. Look at this setup. You get your own bathroom, your own server. You can fit 15 people in there. That's the owner's box you get to hang out with us, and they should put the calendar up the whole year. You're
Yeah, you
right.
bring-
But
you
look
get
at-
to bring
get
a whole
four-
crew with
yeah,
you.
you
Yeah.
got 4 TVs
Yeah.
in there. There's the setup, all the mixers, whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, Schwartzy, a lunatic, and look at that. Oh, bam! There's your big boy
Yep.
as well. So I mean, I was unaware of that, and Sean Higgs was all over it. He goes, "Wait a second, private bathroom? That means owner's
Yes.
box
For sure.
He's on it.
It fits 14 people guess.
You can fit more than that.
Comfortably.
Come on.
Right, yes,
you
I
could
know.
put 25 in there comfortably, Mitch. But
Yeah.
this package deal is 14.
So
I mean, we aren't going to get beat on the food and beverage. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we've met like every possible like person that wants to get that white. Some guy who's like, okay, this is on me. This is my treat for everybody that's at the suite, and they take care of everything. We also have met like a big groups of guys several times who say, really, we can split that much money for 14 guys? That's a no-brainer to do that.
You got to pay to sit in sports books anyways.
Yeah.
During the madness.
And then you get
what's
it all day long for these huge events.
Oh, all day. Big one. Yep, all day.
Yeah, I wanted to roll the calendar further out through the summer and through the fall when they can watch NFL and college football with you guys.
What are you saying it to me for? You're the VP.
Well, I just
Who you
advise.
talking to?
I advise. That's
Maybe
all.
the Stevens kids had some pull.
Man, he's letting them walk before they run here on this one.
Okay.
Well, I asked him yesterday if we're okay to do shows live at Stadium Swim.
Well, that came up in our operations meeting.
He loved
said,
the
Bill,
idea.
the Follow the Money crew wants to be up here. He said conference tournament week.
Yes,
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah. Come on.
And Bill's response was, I was listening, which
Okay.
shocked everyone. But
Yeah, right.
And by the way, so
Here's a quote, by the way. Foxwoods. It was the largest crowd we ever had for an event. It's like we gave people less than a week notice, and they were driving an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, let's do something big here.
sure.
that was great.
So
Helped me for Jason Robbins. I
So
remember.
it's for the
I remember it well. I remember it well
Oh,
for
what
that
an interview.
commercial.
What an interview.
What an interview.
Oh, Jason Robbins.
So for people just tuning in and have no idea what we're talking about, you can go to vsin.com/beyondthebooth, right? And there are a couple of dates up there right now. You can email, you can click on it all, try to fill out the information, say that you're interested. Paulie and I are going to hang out, if you want to do it, with you. One of the most common responses that I saw on X anyway, I didn't see any of the emails, on X was, I want to be able to gamble with these guys.
There's tables out there.
Or maybe play like video poker because of this hot streak that I've been on. We've been talking about in the air. I will tell you this. If you do this, I will say never use the word lock. I will use the word lock. I will sit down and play blackjack at the tables out there.
Or maybe we make it at Bar Canada, and you sit and play Ultimate X at Bar Canada.
You don't have to
You
twist
could
my
do
arm.
that. I mean, you could do that. You could structure it at the dice table. You get a spot at the dice table.
I can and I
will.
will.
Watch Mitch after 42 rolls get courageous and go from 18 to 24 on the 6 and 8.
Hey.
He's something. He's something on that dice table, Paul.
Would you like a craps lesson? You want
There you go.
email Circa about me providing craps lessons and how you can win money? Should we make that experience as well? Mitch, what do you do in this situation? Oh,
boy.
Gun in my head.
boy. That's all right, Mitch. Put another $12 out there. The guy's been shooting for 30 minutes. Okay.
Don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Derek gave me lessons once. It was great. He's always working. This guy's always working. Do this, press, do that. Oh, he's great.
Try to keep up with him on a dice. I can't even keep up with him on a dice table.
I may have phrased the question to you incorrectly last Friday when I said craps is the best table game to make money at. How about it's the most fun?
Oh, it's not even close.
Not even close.
Loudest
even
roars in the
close.
casino always.
Because it's a very social game, and we had a good table at the Fremont.
Yep, good.
Last Thursday night, and it was fun. Even though you didn't know what you were doing, you had fun, right? And this lady that was sitting there playing, she said, "You guys really lit up this table. You guys really brought the energy when you came in." And Adam Burke and Mitch and I. So we had a good time. I lasted the other two, but
I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Adam Burke brought energy.
Yes.
Oh, Berkey was awesome that night.
Somebody asked him a
great.
question about the Mariners, and he lit up like a Roman candle.
I will say my bachelor party weekend at the Hard Rock on a Saturday afternoon, a bunch of us sat down at a table with guys from Chicago.
Oh, it was great.
Oh my God, we cleaned house for 3 days. It was the best blackjack experience I've ever had in my entire life.
I was passed out. I almost died. I almost got shot. It was great.
It was great. It was awesome.
I can't get there on blackjack. You bust, she busts, and she wins. Forget it.
Yeah.
Well, but it's hot, though. When it's hot, it's
when
great.
anything's hot. When roulette's hot, anything's hot. When pie gow's hot.
Pie
Come
gow's
on.
hot. That's rare, but it can happen.
It's not possible for my guy to
Oh,
be
come
hot.
on. Knock it off.
Up next, a conference tournament has turned into a total disgrace. You cannot be serious with Mike Palm here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We will get to a lot of games tonight on the college basketball slate here as VSiN host Matt Youmans joins the program. He's not on primetime tonight, but typically on VSiN primetime for 4 hours. Following us right here on VSiN, and he's on the Progressive Guest Line. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Doing great today, Mitch. Thanks for asking. And, we got one hell of a college hoops card tonight, pretty much every night for the next, month and a half.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mike Palm mentioned a couple things earlier before we get into the slate. We were discussing this Beyond the Booth promotion going on now at Circa, where you can go there, get a cabana, you can go to the website and click on it, watch games. Paulie and me will be out there as well. He also brought up that $5,000 could get somebody a golfing experience with you during the summer when it's really hot. Would you do it?
First of all, I want to know, is Paul Howard going to drink in these cabana parties? Because the last time we were out there, we had to twist his arm to get him to have one drink. Are you going to drink, Paulie?
100%. And I'll do shots.
You will?
Yes.
I might even come out for that, okay? I tell you what, I would not allow anyone. I don't think there's a person on the face of the earth that would want to pay $5,000 to golf with me. I would not allow it. I think Mike Palm was probably joking when he mentioned Mike Palm's got a great sense of humor, so I'm sure he's joking about that. But I'll tell you what would be worth it. And I just thought of this since you brought it up about 10 years ago. This is when we were all working at ESPN Radio here in Las Vegas, just right before, 2 years before VSiN started. I played in the Larry Flint's Hustler Club golf tournament here in Vegas. And we each got assigned a girl who rode with us for 18 holes. And on the second hole of the tournament, the girls got butt naked and played with us the rest of the way. That might be worth $5,000 if we could replicate that.
There you go.
You probably could. Get to work on that, Matt. I think we can. I think Bill 80 would love to probably put a package together with something like that.
The second hole. Wow. Good. God bless you.
One other thing Mike Palm mentioned tonight. His favorite game on the board is Maryland minus 3.5. Do you concur with that?
I do. By the way, one of the girls that was with us said they moved in with me for about 6 months week after that tournament. I did play Maryland, and this is a good spot. This is a good spot to play the Terps. They're still in contention to get a share of the Big Ten championship here. They got two big-time players in Derek Queen and Julian Reese. And I think Michigan State's played big game after big game after big game, and this will probably be a spot where you can catch the Spartans a little bit flat tonight on the road. Plus, Maryland has been really the last couple of years been lights out at home. And I did play the Terps on the money line. And I did also bet them a little bit at -3 tonight. I think this is one of those games where you get the slight home favorite that's more desperate, that really needs this win. And Michigan State is, I do think, going to be probably a little bit flat tonight because they've had so many big games in the last couple weeks.
Can St. John's keep it going against Butler?
You know what? Here's what you got to be concerned about with St. John's. And I listened to Rick Pitino talk after the St. John's UConn game on Sunday, and he said Kadary Richmond, their star guard, transferred from Seton Hall, has got 2 groin injuries, and he's really limited, and he needs a couple weeks off. Now, I don't know. I was trying to check the injury report today to see if he was going to play, because a lot of times Pitino will say something that have to be BS. But I do think by watching Kadary Richmond, he probably is somewhat injured, and he's not going to play maybe in this Butler game because St. John's got so many bigger games up on the schedule that this might be a spot where they can rest him tonight. And I know sharp money's been flooding in the market on Butler, and our buddy Chris Macero from San Diego made a bold prediction last night that the fans are going to be storming the court at Hinkle Fieldhouse tonight. Ooh. I don't know if I'll go that far, but I do think St. John's, if Richmond doesn't play, is going to be a fragile favorite tonight, and Butler could be a live dog. I considered playing it, but I missed the best number and decided not to play this tonight.
Yeah, I see the Johnnies right now down to 5.5 at some spots. So, but yeah, the best number's absolutely gone at this point. I have gone back and forth on the Ohio State USC game several times today. I still have not pulled the trigger on a bet with this game. Do you have an opinion here between the Buckeyes and the Trojans?
I did play this last night, Ohio State plus 1.5, and it's the travel angle in the Big Ten that you got to watch here because what happened with UCLA and USC when they get on the road in these long road trips to the Midwest and the East Coast so often. And I watched USC at Rutgers on Sunday afternoon. And that USC defense allowed 95 points to Rutgers And meanwhile, the Buckeyes who played UCLA were just sitting in LA waiting for USC to come back. So the Buckeyes have been there, don't have the travel to worry about. Eric Musselman was complaining a lot like Mick Cronin did a couple weeks ago about the travel concerns for the West Coast teams in the Big Ten. So USC's traveling back from New Jersey in the Rutgers game, where it looked like it was a tired USC team that allowed 95 points. And now they're catching Ohio State, which is a capable offensive team. Ohio State's a roller coaster team. You just got to figure out when it's going to be up and when it's going to be down with the Buckeyes. And I think the Buckeyes are going to be up tonight. I played this Ohio State plus 1.5 tonight. I like Ohio State to win this game at USC. And it looks like, you look for teams that are fading late in the season. It looks like USC is a fading team.
You covered this league a long time. The home courts are very valuable and important in the Mountain West. Boise up to 4.5. What do you think of the game tonight at home to Utah State in a game the Broncos have to have?
Yeah, I go back to January 11th, and I played Boise as a 5-point underdog at Utah State. I think 5 or 5.5. And Boise should have won the game.
Yeah. Had
the lead in the final minute and fell apart in the final minute. Utah State's got a tough home court there. Utah State pulled that game out, by 2, 81-79 in early January. Boise, if you look at the home road splits, and you got to do this in college basketball, because if you look at Kansas, that's a team that's top 15 in offensive efficiency at home and about number 215 on the road. And Boise's very similar in the Mountain West. This is a very capable offensive team, very high-level offensive team at home. Same with the defense, and very poor on the road. So Boise's got some really stark home road splits. I do like Boise in this game. I think it's similar to Mitch, the game we talked about last Wednesday when New Mexico was at Boise, right? And we were on Boise in that spot, and the number got inflated in a betting market, and it turned out to be right. Boise won the game in a runaway, so you didn't have to worry about the inflated number. This number is getting a little bit up there tonight where I don't want to recommend it at this point, but I think, this is another one I played, and I would say right now, play Boise on the money line. This is a home team where the game means a lot more to the Broncos. They need this one, similar to San Diego State last night. I was on the Aztecs last night. They needed that game. New Mexico really didn't. And the Aztecs pretty much let it wire to wire. I could see Boise with a similar effort tonight. But again, it's gotten to the point where the number's a little bit inflated, and I don't want to touch it here. By the way, Boise's 6-1 in the last 7 games. So this team's playing at a pretty high level. That one loss was a blowout loss, but it was on the road at San Diego State.
Yep, there you go. Wrapping it up here with Matt Youmans, VSiN host, hitting the college basketball card tonight. Do you have a bet yet on Indiana, Penn State?
I played Indiana. I just threw it on a money line parlay, but I got to tell you, this is a tricky spot. I really don't like the Hoosiers here. We got off the big win over Purdue.
Yeah,
it was an emotional game on Sunday. They put a lot into that game, and you got to be a little bit leery of a team like that. The spot after a big win, and that might have been Indiana's biggest win of the season, is either that or at Michigan State. So a lot of times you don't want to play a team off that big win. The Hoosiers 3-8 in their last 11, and I think you'd probably see them come out a little bit hungover emotionally in the first half tonight, and probably get off to a slow start. I don't think it's going to be easy. I didn't feel like laying the points. I did put Indiana on a money line parlay, and I paired that up with Boise. That was one of the pairs I put it with, was Boise tonight.
There's no Thiero tonight for Arkansas. They're down to 2.5 against Texas. How much do you think he means overall to the team and to this game tonight?
I'm not quite sure about that. And I know Wes Reynolds was on Texas at the good number, and Arkansas is off the big win over Missouri. And this is when I decided I opted not to play. I tell you what, there are big games every night in the SEC. It's crazy how good this league is, top to bottom. You're going to find some scheduling spots that you can't resist. And, one tough matchup. I was looking tonight at Ole Miss and Auburn. How tempting is it to take 13 points with Chris Beard?
Yep.
It's very tempting to me. But I ended up passing on the game, and here's why. This is the more I watch Ole Miss, this is one of Beard's worst defensive teams. I think this is one of his lowest IQ in terms of basketball IQ teams. And if you can't defend at a high level, you're going to have problems against Auburn, and the game could get away from you. So I would say of the big dogs tonight, Ole Miss is the one I gave the most consideration to, but did decide to pass on the Rebels too.
All right, there you go. You can follow Matt on X as well, at Matt Youmans 24/7, and he hosts VSiN Primetime 4 nights a week here for 4 hours following us here on the network. Matt, thanks for the time as always. Best of luck tonight.
Hey, thanks. Can't wait to do shots with Paul Howard.
Let's do it. Line it up.
I think it's going to be happening sooner than you think.
Yep. Incredible response. Thank you, guys. We owe you big time. Can't wait to hang with you.
Maybe if you want to request like a date that's not yet there, put that as part of the email because Paulie and I are basically here all year long.
Yeah.
We're good to go.
Yep. I told them. It's rock and roll. It's the best pool in the world. We'll hang with Sydney as well. That's on my Instagram. You could serve breakfast on her ass.
In Pocket plays up next, and we have some breaking news in the NFL, and I think this is awesome.